What if I told you that right now, just beneath your waking consciousness, beneath literally every single decision you make today, there is a hidden biological architecture, quietly dictating how you age, how you think, and how long you're actually going to thrive? Well, today in this explainer, we're embarking on a pretty incredible investigation into the mechanical reality of your own body. We're going to uncover a profound, scientifically validated mechanism that honestly, most of us are completely ignoring. It's a question we rarely stop to ask ourselves, isn't it? I mean, if you're walking around with this relentless, unexplainable exhaustion, or if your focus is constantly fraying, or maybe you just feel like you're aging faster than you should be, I want to validate that for you right now. You are absolutely not imagining it. But more importantly, the answer to this isn't just to, try harder or drink another cup of coffee. Instead, we're going to reveal a biological secret, a very specific physiological state that fundamentally alters your cognitive health, your resilience, and the very trajectory of how your cells age. So, the very first thing we have to understand is that your body doesn't just operate as a bunch of disconnected parts. It runs on this deeply interconnected, hidden operating system. A single behavioral shift, triggered just in your mind, can cascade almost instantly through your nervous system, alter your endocrine system, and literally change your blood chemistry. But to understand how to actually master this system, we first have to understand why it's currently crashing for so many of us. Part 1. The invisible biological conflict. To really solve the mystery behind our modern burnout, we have to look at the root cause. We have to examine this invisible conflict raging inside your cells right now before we can get to the unexpected, completely free solution to fix it. See, we are dealing with a massive evolutionary mismatch. Our biology is strictly diurnal. We are hardwired to the ancient rhythms of light and dark, and we rely on those exact cycles to trigger deep parasympathetic recovery. But our modern environment, it's defined by artificial light, late-night screens, and just nonstop demands on our attention. Science actually calls this social jet lag. And what this does is create severe circadian dysregulation. It effectively traps your autonomic nervous system in sympathetic overdrive. You're basically stuck in survival mode, pumping out the stress hormone cortisol at the exact times you should be resting and repairing. Part 2. The paradox of conscious sleep. So, how do we actually break this cycle without abandoning modern life entirely? Well, this brings us to a true paradigm-shifting intervention. It's an ancient practice known as Yoga Nidra, or what modern neuroscientists refer to as non-sleep deep rest, or NSDR. We're going to see how this protocol scientifically hacks the boundary between waking and sleeping to force your biology into a state of profound repair. Now, you might hear this and think, oh, okay, this is just meditation. Actually, scratch that. It is completely different. Traditional meditation is active. You're sitting up, you're exerting conscious effort to focus your waking mind. Yoga Nidra and NSDR are entirely passive. You lie down, and it requires absolutely zero active effort. You just passively listen to a guide. So instead of working on the conscious mind, it acts as a physiological buffer, dropping you into this fascinating state of conscious sleep, where your subconscious processing completely takes over. Let's map out exactly what this descent looks like in the brain, because this is where the neuroscience gets truly fascinating. When you practice this, your brainwaves go through a very systematic cascade. At minute 0, you start in beta, active, alert, maybe a little anxious. But within about 10 minutes, you drop into alpha, which is this wonderful state of relaxed alertness. By minute 20, you plunge into theta, where deep memory consolidation and dream processing happen. And ultimately, by minute 30, you can actually reach delta. These are the incredibly slow brainwaves associated with deep, profound physical healing. Here's the wild part. Most people completely skip this intermediate platform of rest during their normal, untrained sleep. They crash straight from stressed out beta all the way down, skipping the gradual descent, which is exactly why you can sleep for 8 hours and still wake up feeling completely exhausted. Part 3. The neurochemical cascade. Now, changing your brainwaves is really just the first domino to fall here. We're going to dive a layer deeper into the biology to see exactly what happens to your internal chemistry when you force your brainwaves into these slower frequencies. Think about the hierarchy of your autonomic nervous system. When you lie still and follow those NSDR cues, your vagus nerve, which is basically the grand conductor of your nervous system, detects this total lack of muscular tension. It then signals absolute, unconditional safety to your brain. It pulls you right out of that fight-or-flight survival mode and plunges you straight into parasympathetic dominance. The rest and digest system just takes complete control. And the moment that happens, your endocrine system responds instantly. Your adrenal glands basically hit the brakes, and that stress hormone cortisol absolutely plummets. Simultaneously, your pineal gland wakes up and starts pushing melatonin into your system, which regulates your immune function and resets your circadian rhythm. But while this massive hormonal reset is happening in your body, an even more shocking neurochemical shift is taking place right inside your brain. Imagine zooming all the way down into a synapse, that tiny gap between your neurons. While you're just lying there seemingly doing nothing at all, your brain is actually working at lightning speed. In mere milliseconds, this state of deep rest is rapidly altering your neurotransmitters. It is actively replenishing the crucial neurochemicals you completely burn through during your stressful day. And you know the most crucial molecule it replenishes? Dopamine. Clinical studies have shown that this specific state of Yoga Nidra triggers a massive 65% increase in endogenous dopamine in the ventral stratum of the brain. 65%. That is absolutely massive. This is exactly why a 30-minute session can instantly clear your brain fog and completely reset your motivation. It gives you this surge of natural, focused energy, but without any of the jitters or the crash you'd get from caffeine. Part 4. Deep cellular restoration. So we've looked at the brainwaves, we've looked at the neurochemistry, now let's travel even deeper, right down to the very cells of your body. We need to look at what that mysterious delta state is actually doing for your biological longevity. The absolute crucial point here is this. Your brain has a built-in waste clearance network called the glymphatic system. When you enter that transition from alpha to theta during NSDR, this system kicks into high gear. Imagine it like a physical power wash for your brain, literally washing away metabolic waste and toxic proteins, specifically things like beta amyloid, which is heavily linked to Alzheimer's disease, clearing it right out of your brain tissue. This deep neuroclearing rapid fires the restoration of your executive function. It is the biological reason why just 20 or 30 minutes of this specific practice can literally feel like you've just had hours of deep restorative sleep. And the incredible thing is, the healing doesn't just stop at the neck. This top-down regulation from your nervous system directly alters your blood markers too. Studies show that regular practice significantly reduces something called your erythrocyte sedimentation rate, or ESR. In simpler terms, it literally cools the silent fire of systemic inflammation throughout your entire physical body. By consciously changing your mind state, you are fundamentally changing how your cells age. If you need the ultimate proof of just how connected the mind and body truly are, consider this astonishing data point. A clinical trial found that 90 days of daily Yoga Nidra practice caused a massive 21.3 milligram per deciliter drop in fasting blood glucose for diabetic patients. Let that sink in for a second. A mental state of conscious rest fundamentally altered their metabolic health and insulin sensitivity. That is the power of this system. Part 5. The emergent system of health. We are really starting to see the full picture now. Let's synthesize all these layers, the behavioral cues, the descending brainwaves, the hormonal shifts, and the cellular clearing into one unified master understanding of human longevity and flourishing. When we look at how all these metrics tie together, it's just mind-blowing. By increasing your vagal tone, NSDR spikes your heart rate variability, which leads directly to enhanced emotional resilience against daily stress. By downregulating your sympathetic drive, it causes a significant, highly measurable drop in both your systolic and diastolic blood pressure. And by putting the brain in that state of deep rest, it actually stimulates neuroplasticity, leading to the physical, structural remodeling of your brain. Heart health, emotional strength, and brain architecture, they are all tied back to this one single regulatory state. And this brings us to a truly profound realization. Optimizing your life isn't about chasing 100 different isolated health hacks. It's about mastering the underlying operating system. Think about it like a giant puzzle where everything fits perfectly together. Sleep influences your hormones influence your mood shifts your nervous system cools the inflammation, and that inflammation dictates how you age. It is one beautifully, infinitely interconnected web. So you now know the mechanics. You know that just 20 minutes of conscious rest can cascade through your brainwaves, flush the toxins from your mind, spike your dopamine, and cool the inflammation in your blood. The science here is undeniable, and the tool to do it is entirely free. So I want to leave you with this thought. Knowing what you know right now about these invisible forces shaping your life, will you continue fighting your own biology, or will you finally carve out the time to consciously run your hidden operating system? The choice is entirely yours.